Hey, what's up guys? I'm Matt Manny. I'm an artist working out of Philly and New York. In this episode, I wanted to show you how I banged out this quick shark mural in my basement and also go over some of the things that I learned since I did my last basement mural. If you haven't seen it, I'll throw a link down in the description. But before we get to that, let's just take a second to appreciate the epic goodness that was street sharks.
Some say they're just no good. Half shark, half man, fighting evil, that's the plan. Street sharks.
They bite, they fight, chewing up evil with all of their might. Street sharks, baby. Half man, half shark, 100% product of some stoner in the 90s. Gotta love it. Matt Manny Art. First thing I learned with my initial basement mural is that prep work is key. The first time around I did a half-assed job of cleaning up an old, beat-up, dirty wall, and honestly in the long run I paid the price. Initially I gave the area a quick dusting and then just jumped right into painting. Honestly I just wanted to get to work and I figured the paint would do a pretty good job of just covering up any dust or imperfections. However, that's not how it worked out, and I really struggled to get any kind of brushwork or technique down. Ultimately, the piece didn't turn out exactly how I planned, and I spent a lot of time frustrated, which means I didn't have nearly as much fun as I could have. So before I started my second mural, I vacuumed the wall. A lot. Then I brushed it free of any dust or chipping paint with a stiff bristle brush like this one. Once I was happy with the wall, I threw down a heavy layer of interior latex paint. I use paint like this. It's Benjamin Moore Premium Interior Latex Primer. I'm not sponsored by them. This is just what they had at the local hardware store. And honestly, I just wanted to use a small little container like this, test it out to see how it worked before I invested in something more expensive. I used white, but honestly, for my purposes, it doesn't matter what I use. I'm painting sharks in my basement. As a pro tip, check with your local hardware store, paint supplier, or even big chain stores like Home Depot to see if they have any mixing errors. A lot of times these places will have paint lying around that was mixed in properly and they'll sell it to you at or below cost. My local hardware store actually sold me this gallon of paint here for $26, which was their cost. This usually retails for around $60, so they had it on their shelf. They weren't really sure what was going on with it. Somebody opened it or perhaps just mixed it wrong, so they just wanted to recoup their cost, which is great for me because this is excellent for what I'm doing down here in the basement. I also found, like I said, they have a lot of odd colors or things that were mixed wrong that nobody's going to want. They have a hard time getting rid of it. I started a conversation with them and explained that I'm doing art and I'm doing murals, and you know, sometimes an odd color or a weird thing can be interjected into my art, especially if the price is right. But honestly, I find it's a little bit serendipitous, and you get to throw in these weird colors that you really wind up loving but wouldn't have tried out or come across if it wasn't for the fact that it was just mixed in with these kind of odd bag of paints that nobody wanted. So really try this out, and I'd love to hear your experience working with your local suppliers. But I found this is fantastic, especially if you're on a budget or just trying to keep costs down for client projects. This brings me to the second thing I learned: having the right tools for the job. On the first mural, I just threw down with whatever supplies and tools I had lying around. But all that did was really just exacerbate the issues I had because of my poor wall prep. This time around I used a lot more durable and stiff bristle brushes that are used for interior and exterior house painting. I also made sure to mix in some of the latex paint with my liquid acrylics. I found this just added a bit of viscosity, which really helped with the adherence to the wall. The last major thing that I learned was to not nitpick and to really get my expectations in frame before I start these projects. I think I was going into these projects really expecting that I was going to get the same results that I would get by using oil paper or stretched canvas or a lot of other surfaces that I'm accustomed to, right? But the results I get are going to be predicated on the surface that I'm using. I'm not going to be able to get as much precision on something like a cinder block wall. So if I know that going in and I expect that the look I'm going to get is unique to what I'm doing and it's also cool, it's just different, then I'm going to have a lot better time and be a lot happier with my work in the end. Sometimes I find when I'm working on a creative project, I'm so involved with what I'm doing and so close to it that I don't really have an accurate perspective of how I feel about it. Sometimes you really do just need to take a step back or take a break, and then when you have that time or that distance, you start to look at it and realize, wow, that's really cool. I do really like this. It's not what I initially thought it would be, but it's unique and cool in its own special, different way. If you have that mindset going in, it's going to help you just really get so much more value out of your work, learn so much more, and really have a lot more fun. I can say, honestly, just by taking these few couple of steps, from the first project to the second, I had so much more fun. I had a blast. I was pumping music and dancing around. And that's why I really got into art and why I love it so much to begin with. Now I'm going to throw it over to the time lapse. This time around I put it over a reggae song by my brother's band called Beach Bum. I just thought it fit the whole shark ocean vibe, and hopefully you guys like it. As always, guys, if you're digging these videos, hit like and subscribe. I'd love to stay in contact. If you have any questions or comments, throw them down below. And as always, thanks so much for joining me.